I released a video late last night on the Chargers offense and just went over some of the data and how they use 11 personnel to attack people, how imbalanced or unbalanced they are in terms of their run pass ratio at 11 personnel. Of course, the Chargers are 90% of the time they're either in 11 personnel or 12 personnel out of their basically 1,100 snaps last season. One of the things I'm going to do or going to be able to do if people ask me to is to look at certain concepts and certain things that people run and how they run them, what makes them succeed, what makes them work, and look for patterns, look for elements that you can kind of predict what's coming. That's just how my brain works, is looking for patterns of pre-snap alignment, which is a formation, or look for patterns of motion and just numerical situations that kind of tell you what's coming. The one I'm going to do today is going to be quite old school, to be honest with you. It's funny to me to hear so many people talk about modern football, and when you look at what's supposedly modern football, there's plenty of examples where you see old school plays, old school concepts just writ large, except maybe the quarterback's in the shotgun, or except maybe there's an RPO element to it, or there's motion tagged to something that didn't have motion tagged to it previously. So what I'm going to do today is show you how the Chargers use an old school play concept, toss, to outflank people on the edge. Now I think 9 examples of it. I'm going to show you I think 4 today, and then I'm going to show you 2 other plays that are essentially toss plays. Now this is filmed from the Browns, filmed from I think the Bengals, and maybe one other team. But you got Austin Eckler taking a toss play outside. You got a guy in motion. They're cracking down on the D end or pinning him down, maybe a 9 or a 10-yard gain. They're pinning down with this guy who's lined up on the line of scrimmage. Maybe that's Keenan Allen, I'm not sure. I think we've got 12 personnel here. By the way, 2 tight ends down the bottom of the screen here, and then 2 receivers up to the top. Typically, you're running toss away from the tight end side. Typically, you're running it to the side of the X receiver. But conceptually, what do you got? You got 2 guys here, one of them pinning down. Second guy going and hunting someone. Maybe it's a linebacker. It is on this play. Maybe it's a strong safety rolled up. And then a third player in motion or pulling out to the edge to help lead Austin Eckler, who's a pretty strong and durable guy. Makes good cuts. Underrated. Look at the wall that they create here with these guys. Fantastic, fantastic design, execution. I intend to do stuff like this for multiple AFC teams. I'm going to kind of stay away from the NFC. I wish this was a full-time job for me at this point. I try to do as much content early morning, late at night as possible to give me the chance to make it look like it is a full-time job. But in any case, it's an unbelievable wall that's been set. The pullers get able to get out to the edge. Fantastic football play. Toss. Some stuff you see 7-year-olds running, right? Toss. Great view of these 2 linemen releasing out to go get second-level people. The backside inside linebacker gets a run through because number 71, the guard, for whatever reason, chooses not to take a good angle and go get him. He's working up here. Looks like he's got eyes on him, but he adjusts too late. Guy's able to get involved in making a play. There's a DB there as well. Like I said, I'm going to show you 4 examples. This one is out of a bunch set, somewhat similar to what I just showed you in that you have motion, except this time he stops. He doesn't go in continuous motion. On the last play I showed you, he went in continuous motion and was moving as the ball is snapped. In this play, he's in motion, sets, but conceptually, what do you got? You got 3 guys who are out on the edge, and they can lead pin down to help out with, help lead block for the guy who's getting the football. Now, they do something slightly different here. They run this guy across. What they're hoping to do is pull a linebacker who might be reading that tight end, or I call him an H-back. They're hoping to pull somebody with him, or at least hold him long enough that they don't have to block him. This is later on during the game, I believe, is later on during the game. So what they saw was they were unable to block the front side inside, one of the inside linebackers, excuse me. On the previous play, it was number 28. I think he was a backside inside linebacker. I misspoke there. What they saw was they were unable to block him. So I think what they're trying to do is hold him by doing this hide motion across and then pulling the tackle. So here's the tackle who's going to pull. And you notice they have this H-back behind him significantly so as to give the tight end room to open his foot and go. So essentially, they're just exchanging roles from the previous play, where the guy in motion led out on the edge. Now this time, it's the tackle who pulled, who's able to get out on the edge. Not as big of a play. You have another inside linebacker. It's the backside inside linebacker again. 28, same guy. When I say backside, I mean the toss play is going here. This will be the front side inside linebacker. He's to the toss, and this is the backside inside linebacker. So once again, they're not able to get to him, and he's able to get involved in the play. Keep it only being like a 2 or 3 yard gain. But I'm just showing you the NFL teams, even though these offenses are, quote, modern, these are old school concepts. Pin and pull, toss, crack schemes. You do have a crack element to this. Look, there's the same player, maybe not the same jersey number, but he's lined up as the X. He's going to pin the DN down, just like I showed you on the last play. Pins him down. Tackle pulls. They're able to go get the front side inside linebacker number 4. The tackle's going to pull around and go get this guy, and the guy they're unable to block is the backside inside linebacker. Looks like the center runs right past him. Here's the center right here. For whatever reason, he's going to get the front side inside linebacker. Doesn't make any sense at all because 13 is going to get him. Center stays on his tracks and 28 runs right by him. No reason why we shouldn't have been able to get this guy blocked up. But in any case, great job by that backside inside linebacker. A lot of heart and a great angle taken by him on that play. Crack scheme again out of toss, but there's no motion. So they're not motioning this Y or this tight end across. Now they're just going to straight crack it. Actually, it's just a pin. It's the same concept. The X is pinning down on the DN. It's the same concept. This should all just be labeled toss. So just pinning down and pulling. In this case, they're pulling the tackle again. So hopefully you see the similar elements on all 3 of these plays. Looks like you have a DB just fall down out of nowhere, maybe trips over somebody's feet. Austin Ekeler doesn't choose to score here. I think this is late in the game, like 2 minutes left. And I think the Browns are up 42-41, maybe 42-40. Here was an unbelievable football game. A lot of fun to watch, especially in the offseason. So I think he's trying not to score here, but they're trying to get a positive play out of this. It ain't like the Browns are just giving up the edge and not trying to stop the football play. They've only got one inside backer now. And this time they're able to work up to him and block him because they've identified that, hey, that's the guy who made the play the last 2 times we ran this. They block him up. Could have very easily been a touchdown. Austin Ekeler clearly chooses, not to try to score. Same game. This is after they've scored a touchdown, which was a weird touchdown. It looked like the Browns were trying to let them score on the ensuing play, not the one I showed you, but a play that I did not show in this video. And it looked like Austin Ekeler was unsure if he should, and then he ended up in the end zone. So it's 47-42 here now. You just saw it. So I guess on the toss play that I described a moment ago, it was 42-41. So in any case, now you've got the 2-point conversion play. So clearly that they do want to score, because they want to get up 49-42. I think there's, a minute 30 left, minute 40, 1:31 left on the game clock. So 2-point conversion play looks drastically different formation-wise from what I've shown you so far. Let's break it down a little bit. You got the tight end backside here, so this is what I would call unbalanced. Some people will call it Y over, whatever. You got 2 tackles, one here and one here. And same concept here. You're gonna pin down. You're gonna fullback lead, and I believe this tackle pulls. They don't get in. It's a rough call if you ask me. Tackle doesn't pull. They just reach. Everybody just reach blocks. Neither one of these linemen pull. They just reach block. Looks like a safety. This safety right here, unblocked, fits in the gap. Called him short, I believe. Great play by that guy. Some people would not call this a pitch play. Excuse me. Some people would not call this toss because the quarterback opens to it. Meaning Justin Herbert opens his shoulders this way. He opens his shoulders this way. Some people would call that pitch. Out of the wing T, you had halfback pitch where the quarterback opens to the halfback. If you open opposite, like the other plays I've shown, he was to open this way, turn his shoulders, and then toss the football here, that's typically what a lot of people call toss. But in any case, I labeled them all toss. Great play by number 43. All right, no longer toss plays, but conceptually the same thing. Numerically, in some ways, the same thing. Two more plays here, and this is going to be what I would call tailback flare. Some people call it a swing pass. Whatever you want to call it. Sometimes I call it a shield concept. You've got 12 personnel. You got 2 tight ends up here, 2 receivers to the bottom side. Halfback is in what I call a gun to the side of the tight end. Halfback's going to go out to that same side. The 2 tight ends are essentially shielding what I believe is an inside linebacker for the Raiders. And they just get the ball out to the halfback. Linebacker makes a great play, uses the sideline to his advantage. So it's not like there's a huge gain on this play. And in a lot of these plays that I have shown you, there's not huge gains. So if you want to, talk about yards per play, go right ahead. The point is NFL teams are using similar concepts to what's been used in football for 40 years. Not on every play. There's plenty of, quote, modern plays. There's plenty of plays that have been created in the past, 10 years, 5 years, whatever. But there's also a lot of concepts that are the same. Shield, I call it a shield concept. The tight end is basically getting in the way of this inside linebacker. So when I say this, I mean this guy. I think it's Perryman, I believe. I think I have the wrong name there. 52 is Perryman, I believe. So in any case, they've been able to get him the ball out in space. These DBs here have to account for the 2 tight ends. Conceptually, it's very similar to the toss play in that those 2 DBs have to cover those 2 tight ends. Whereas on the toss play, those 2 DBs would have been getting blocked by the tight ends. So still trying to create a one-man advantage out there. This time they weren't able to shield that linebacker. And conceptually, for me, when you shield someone, that's the same thing as a pin concept on a D end. So I'm not saying that these are the exact same plays because they're clearly not, but the concepts are the same. A pin down on a D end, if it was going to be, let's say, a toss play here, by that would be, I think it's Jared Cook, the tight end. If he was going to pin down, to me that's the same thing as if you shield a couple of defenders. It's the same concept. You're trying to keep a defender in here this way while you're attacking on the, on the flank, on the outside of the formation. Now this is a little different. This is a quick swing or flare out to the tailback. I would offer to you that there's a read happening here with this receiver. And as soon as the ball is snapped, Herbert is reading either here or here. Now it looks like to me you've got a zone dropping D tackle right there. And an inside linebacker dropping out. You do have a release valve coming across late in the X receiver here. I got to get a better mouse. Not real happy with this mouse. I wish I could draw circles or squares super quickly, just grab and pull, so I got to get a better mouse. But I think there's a read happening here with this receiver. Because if you watch his route, it does nothing to complement the play. It essentially is a clear out, and I don't think that you can count on this corner doing what he does, which is getting off, carrying the receiver for 4 or 5 yards, and then breaking off that coverage, releasing him to the safety, and then coming up to attack the running back. I think there's a read here happening with this guy, and I think the read is this. If this corner jams and settles for me, then I'm going to go ahead and break this thing to the pylon because I know that's cover 2. I know that's a hard cover 2. If he carries me, which he does, and I can't prove it because I don't see the guy's face mask necessarily. If he carries me, then I'm just going to go ahead and essentially run him off, try to run into or on this side of the safety because that guy's carrying me. He could be playing man. He could be just running with me, and then that means that the running back's probably going to have a clear path, except he may have a guy to beat here. I'm not as big a fan of this play. It looks like the receivers, the concept to the side where they're using receivers isn't as solid as the previous one I showed you, where I showed you them running it to the 2 tight end side. It looked like to me the shield was better. I would offer to you that there's a read happening here, but I could be wrong. But I'm familiar with that. If you're familiar with running routes or receiving or reading anything as a quarterback or wide receiver, in some of these cases where you've got a flare or a swing happening, you're reading the corner's coverage on you. If the corner sits, then you should go ahead and break it off to the post, or excuse me, break it off to the pylon, even if it is a roll cover 3. So what I mean by a roll cover 3 is this guy stay in the flats. This guy roll to the thirds here. Maybe a backside safety. And I'm not advocating for this coverage because I would not use the coverage I'm drawing up in down in the red zone. And then this backside guy playing the backside third. Okay, so if it was a hard cover 3 to trips, so you're basically sitting this corner into the flats, you could still throw this route that I'm describing. It's just that you would have a safety who's rolling to that third who could possibly make a play on the football. I think there's a read happening here, but I might be wrong. And I think that's why he's not blocking anyone. I think that's why he's not shielding this guy here, because he's reading the coverage, and then his route is stemmed to here. Whoops, excuse me. His route is stemmed to about here, and because the corner's carrying him, then he's just going to run to the inside. If the corner had already dropped off, then I think he would have ran it here, and Justin Herbert may have read that and thrown the football. So I think Justin Herbert's read went here first, and then here second. Now, what does that mean? Am I saying that they make the reads easy for Justin Herbert? Yeah, I think there's some times where they do. I think there's some times where they make it as easy and simple as possible for their quarterback. And every NFL team does that. And this is mostly a Ravens channel. I'm a Ravens fan, but I try to watch as much film as possible of other teams. What I would offer to you, and those of you that have criticized Greg Roman's offense, is there are times where he has just relied on Lamar Jackson too much. There are times where they have not made things simple for him, like these simple completions. Now, the first 4 plays I showed you were toss plays. I'm offering to you the tailback flare, or if you want to call it swing, the last 2 plays I showed you, conceptually it's just the same daggone thing. And to me, that's just an easy way to get the ball out to the edge. Let your quarterback make a very simple read. The 5th play I showed you, the first tailback flare, probably wasn't any read there at all, to be honest with you. This last one, I think he read the strong safety out to the corner, so 1 and then 2. And then, since the corner carried the number 1 receiver out to like 5 or 6 yards, he knew he had the swing, he threw it out there. So it's a simple concept, hence the name of this video, simplicity. Am I saying that Justin Herbert needs things made simple? Hell no. No. I have I don't remember how many plays saved in my database of the Chargers. I'm certainly not going to get anywhere near 400, 500 plays saved. But this is a concept, toss, and then the flare with the shield concept that I thought it would be interesting to talk about and give people hopefully a little bit of clarity that sometimes what looks like a modern NFL offense or a modern NFL plays is just using old school concepts in disguised and maybe dressed up a little bit with formations and motion and stuff like that. If you have any suggestions for me on concepts or plays that teams run, I would love to hear some suggestions. This is really fun for me to do. Hopefully I'll get better at it as I go along. I like to look for patterns of alignment and patterns of numerical patterns. I think you can see a clear numerical pattern that even on that last play I showed you, they ran that play to trips, meaning there was the tight end and 2 receivers over there on the same side as the halfback. And then the halfback, Austin Eckler, ran a flare route to that side. On 5 of the 6 plays I showed you, I believe, or maybe 4 of the 6, definitely 4 of the 6, maybe 5, there was 3 players out on the edge, either blocking or running a route, and then the 4th guy was that tailback who got the football. One of the plays I showed you, I think it was the 5th play, there was not 3 blockers out there. There was really only 2. In any case, this is a fun one for me to do. Let me know what you guys think of the idea. Certainly, I'll do stuff like this with the Ravens too. What I'd like to do eventually is grab film of 3 or 4 different teams running the same concept, kind of like I did with the RPO video about a week ago. Let me know what you guys think of this type of film study in the comments section. Appreciate you checking the video out.